Most Eastern philosophies, as well as most Western pagans or non-Christian philosophies, believe in reincarnation. In fact, even early Christians believed in it. It was not until the First Council of Nicaea that the idea was banished from Christianity, more because of political pressure than anything else. Since the soul is eternal and the body is temporary, it makes sense that as soon as the body is finished, the soul goes somewhere. The question is, where? In modern Christian philosophy, there is the idea of eternal salvation or damnation. God creates souls and offers them a single opportunity for salvation. The ones who accept the offer are promoted to heaven, where they live eternally in bliss, while the others who due to weakness or reluctance miss the opportunity are condemned to spend the rest of eternity suffering in hell. The problem with this idea is that it implies that far from being just, God is cruel and whimsical. More than that, it makes one base his relationship with God in fear of punishment instead of friendship. This leads to a series of problems in one's understanding and actions. It also doesn't make much sense in the context of the teachings of Christ. How the ultimate conclusion of Christ, who was teaching about love and compassion, would be to surrender to a cruel God? The idea of reincarnation counters that by offering the idea of gradual elevation. Some may be able to attain perfection in this very life, but most will go through a gradual elevation that will take many lives. Just as one advances in his study, each year going to a higher grade where he learns progressively more complex subjects, one gradually expands his consciousness through a series of births in progressively higher conditions. All souls are equal, the only difference is their different levels of consciousness. Souls with a very rudimentary level of awareness take birth in lower species, like plants and insects, and gradually evolve from there, gradually expanding their consciousness up to the point of becoming a human being. As a human being, the tendency is that a soul continues evolving, expanding his consciousness and attaining higher planetary systems, where he will have the possibility of progressing further. However, the Vedas explain that human life also presents a threat. While in animal species one has only the option of going forward, in human life we have the opportunity and the responsibility of choosing where to go next. We can observe that animals have little free will. They just eat, sleep, mate and defend according to their nature, following the guidance of natural laws. Human beings, however, have the choice of doing good or evil, cultivating uplifting habits or degrading themselves. There's precisely where the danger is. Just like a child is protected by his parents in his early days and has his activities severely limited so he can remain safe, but gain more freedom as he becomes an adult, but on the other hand becomes responsible for his actions, souls living in animal forms don't have much free will and therefore can't make choices. As a result, they evolve slowly. Human beings, on the other hand, are souls who attained a certain level of maturity in their previous evolution, and thus gain human intelligence and become responsible for their acts. Thus, we can use our human intelligence for the good or for the bad. The ones who use their intelligence to inquire about spiritual knowledge can evolve to higher planetary systems. The ones who remain just interested in material subjects may remain here in this planet for a few lives more, while the ones who misuse their free will and perform cruel acts or cultivate degrading habits may degrade their consciousness instead of evolving it, and may be thus forced back into the lower species. Another way to understand this is that plants and animals are just like one who is working and has part of his salary retained by the government and deposited into a savings account. Since he doesn't have a choice, every month his involuntary savings increase. This is what happens in animal life. At a certain point, he gets access to all accumulated money and can invest it. This is human life. Now he can make more money by investing it wisely, or he can lose everything by making bad choices. If he loses everything, then he will not have any other choice than to go back to work and the system of involuntary savings. A popular saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. Human life is exactly like this. We have a lot of opportunity and a lot of potential, but we need to make the correct choices, or we can end up going back a few steps in the evolutionary process.